You and Your Young Child, a program of information and services available for you and your child from prenatal to age 5. You and Your Young Child has been brought to you in part by the Sternberg Museum of Natural History.
Stop! Where are we going?
The Sternberg!
Don't get left behind. We're waiting for you here at the Sternberg Museum, where there's always new opportunities for
Discovery under the dome.
Hello and welcome to You and Your Young Child, the program devoted to early childhood. My name is Dana Stanton and I'm the coordinator of early childhood grants for USD 489. And with me today is Ken Loos. Good morning, Ken.
Good morning, Dana. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Now, Ken, tell us what organization you work for and what you do there.
I work for High Plains Mental Health Center and I am the manager of the Community Prevention, Education, and Outreach Department.
Now, today we're going to talk about a subject. It's the holiday season. It's December. We just finished with Thanksgiving, and most of the time you think of this as being a happy time of the year. But for someone who is dealing with some sort of grief, maybe not so much. Can we talk a little more about that and how grief could affect families during the holidays?
You bet. There's so many things during the holidays that can affect families. And with grief, particularly if you have lost a loved one sometime this year, and this is the first time you're going through the holidays without that person, it can be very, very difficult. And families don't often know how to maybe respond or support one another. They're not sure if they should say something, not say something. But you know, we also think about, Dana, this time of year, divorces happen and separation and illness.
Financial problems, all sorts of things.
Financial problems, yeah. You know, and so it really is difficult because on the one hand, it is our nature to be celebratory, happy, joyous. On the other hand, the struggles continue, you know, and the rest of our life continues. And to find that balance is a challenge.
Now, what are some ways, maybe coping strategies or things that families can do to get through this time if it's difficult for them? You
know, I think a couple of things. First of all is to be honest with oneself, and then to follow up and be honest with your family and friends. If this is a particularly tough time for you, for whatever reason, it's been a rough year, someone you really care about is no longer part of your life because they're no longer here, what are you up for? What are you not up for? What can you do and what not? Now, you know, there is that balance, and I think sometimes what we worry about in mental health is people may isolate too much, they may pull back, and so finding a little bit of a balance where you are being involved with some aspects of the holidays, some aspects of the celebration, but maybe also allowing some time to grieve, to be alone, to maybe honor your loved ones. You know, that starts really with that self-honesty and then talking it out, being honest with the people in your life.
Now, Ken, you always give me great information. You give me a whole list of strategies to assist and help families and children. Could you talk about some of these? You
bet. You know, a couple of things. I mentioned discussing the plans. Don't overschedule is another really big one. You know, there are even folks that maybe they've been really fortunate, their year's gone fairly well, but this is the time of year they think they have to do everything all at the same time. They have to make every family member happy. That's going to make everyone pretty miserable very, very quickly. So being aware of that, know your limits, your time limits, your physical limits, and as you mentioned, Dana, your financial limits. Children, really important, giving them some downtime. You know, they get so excited about the holidays, so excited to see family that they love, maybe don't see that often. But they need that time, whether it's in a hotel, to go to the swimming pool at the hotel and calm down, a little quiet reading time, watching a movie to kind of quiet down at that point of the day. But just really key. I think sometimes we expect that to just happen naturally. We forget that kids need that structure. With children, letting them be honest. You know, if they've lost grandma or grandpa this year, or if their family went through a divorce, age-appropriate conversation, but what are they up for? You know, what kind of maybe holiday tradition would they like to keep or maybe change a little bit, or is there something special to do for the person that's missing, such as burning a special candle or having, you know, some old photographs out on Happier Times, things of that nature.
Now, we talked about the children. A lot of times it seems like parents, meaning me, a lot of times parents will try to be everything to everyone. And sometimes I think that parents get overwhelmed. How do you find that balance? How do parents try to make sure they're okay while trying to provide for everybody else?
You know, this is a really tough part for, I think, a lot of parents. First of all, you have to learn to say the word no. And saying no doesn't mean you're selfish. Saying no doesn't mean that you're putting yourself in front of somebody else. It means that, you know, you're recognizing their limits and boundaries. Again, whether it's a time limit, a physical limit, or financial, you can't say yes to everything. The other thing I think that's so important with kids, although, you know, we want to do everything for our kids and our grandkids, they really like that time together. They like to be, you know, just supported. They like to be loved. They know these things. You don't always have to be Disneyland mom or Disneyland dad, you know, or grandparents. You can just at times have those special moments and quiet moments. And I think that's part of it. We feel guilty when we can't do everything, but we also make ourselves and a lot of times those around us very miserable when we try to do too much.
Now, what are the signs that, you know, I'm assuming normal grief and things like that, but what are the signs that maybe, you know, a child or a parent or someone in your family needs to get some additional help?
You know, that's a great question. Normal grief, and of course this does vary depending on where someone is in their life, we talk about it lasting as long as 2 years. Now that doesn't mean it's as bad at the end of the 2 years as it was at the beginning of the loss, but what it does mean is that, you know, with grief, you're missing someone, it's not the same, you're going through some difficult times, but you still feel hope that things are going to get better. You're also able to recognize the support you have. You know, my church is supportive, my family, my boss, whatever the case, you recognize those kinds of things. A red flag for maybe reaching out for more help, if it seems like this intense grief is lasting 2 weeks or more and you don't have those moments of hope, you don't have those moments where you feel like, you know what, yeah, my life is pretty tough right now, but I know it's going to get better. If you're starting to feel like, no, I'm in a spiral and I'm just either stuck in the spiral or it's getting worse, that would be a great time to just reach out for help, to talk to a professional and make sure that the normal grief is not turning into major depression, which can happen.
Now, if someone is in that position or worried about someone, how would they contact High Plains Mental Health Center?
You bet. We are both your local and regional mental health center covering the 20 counties in northwest Kansas. Give us a call here locally at 628-2871. We also have a 1-800 number, 1-800-432-0333. Check us out on Facebook. If you ever have any questions, not sure if maybe you need help, we welcome those kinds of inquiries, those phone calls. There's no obligation. And please always know that if you live or work in our 20 counties and you're not insured with any kind of a medical insurance plan or you're underinsured, we do have a sliding fee scale for those in our catchment area.
All right. Wonderful information. Thank you so much, Ken.
My pleasure.
You've been watching You and Your Young Child, the program devoted to early childhood. Parents, remember, you are your child's first and best teacher. Thank you.
You and Your Young Child, a program of information and services available for you and your child from prenatal to age 5. You and Your Young Child has been brought to you in part by the Sternberg Museum of Natural History.